Hello everybody, June here. I know that this is already the third week of March. I have been meaning to make this video since the beginning of the month, but it just has been bananas over here. I mentioned in a previous video that I was very busy doing dissertation stuff and I had a few deadlines this month. And so the first 2 weeks of March, like all of those things that I had to do sort of converged into one big anxiety attack. Not really, but yeah, so everything was due in the first 2 weeks, and in addition to that I had papers to grade for my students. So the first 2 weeks of the month were crazy, and every time that I thought that I would sit down to make a video, I didn't. And if I'm honest, the most difficult thing about making these videos is actually brushing my hair and putting a little bit of mascara on. I find that to be very, very difficult. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let's start with what I'm wearing. This is Simplicity 2447. It is View E, and I made it with long sleeves as opposed to the short sleeves that it takes. There are so many views in this pattern that is dizzying, but I wanted sort of a classic shape with longer sleeves, and I intended for it to be, like I always do, to be a bit of wearable muslin, and it is. I can't remember the size that I made, and I can't find the pattern. I don't know where I stashed it now so that I can look at the pieces that I traced. But whatever it was, I ended up taking it about 1/4 of an inch in on the princess seams right here, and that solved a little bit of bagginess that I had around my hip. Everything else I think it fits okay. I could do with a bit of a narrow shoulder adjustment here, but otherwise I'm happy with it. You know, fit wise. Construction wise, I could have done things a little bit differently. I think the interfacing that I use is a little heavy for this fabric, and so the band here is a little stiff, same with the neck. And I will say the one thing that I dislike the most about this pattern is the way that they construct the cuffs. You can't see here because I have them rolled up. But when I first traced the pattern, I didn't realize that they were not using a placket on the sleeve for the cuff. So rather than a placket, they just have you cut into the fabric a little bit and then do like a little narrow hem. I shot a short video of it here. Hopefully I'll put it here so you can see it. And then it's just rolled in, and it's just weird, and I don't like how it looks. I think it looks so sloppy. But also, I'm not a fan of the long sleeves either, so I probably will never wear them rolled down, but I did do the cuffs and I did do everything as the pattern instructed. But I think people who are more advanced in their shirt making are going to find the cuffs and the way they do the placket, which is not a placket, lacking in probably very unsatisfactory. Other than that, I like it. It does run pretty large, and I wish I could remember the size that I cut. I usually write this down, but I didn't this one time. It's a little baggy, but I didn't want anything fitted, so I am all good. Oh, another thing, it runs very short. I did not shorten the body at all, and look at how short it is on me. I hope you can see it in the video. I think for me, it is on the shorter end of what I consider acceptable for a button-up shirt. If you are taller than me, I'm 5'1.5". If you're taller than me, you probably will want to extend the body a little bit because it is short. The next two things I made, so I only made 3 things in February total. The next 2 things are both Hudson pants by True Bias. One pair is for me, and the other pair was for my husband. For my pair, I cut a size 8 because I could have sworn that the first time I made these pants back in 2017, I had cut a size 10 and that had been too big. but I didn't. Turns out that I cut an A both times. However, this second time, so the ones for February, I find them so long, and I think it's a product of the fabric. So I ordered this fabric, and the description said for both fleeces, this is sweatshirt fleece, that it had the greatest stretch on the cross grain, which is what you would expect in a sweatshirt fleece. But then the fabric arrived, and actually the greatest stretch was along the grain, and the cross grain didn't have anywhere as much as I needed it to have. I was pretty upset because this was expensive fabric. I mean, for sweatshirt fleece, this was like $16 a yard or something like that. It was not cheap. I complained to the seller, and they were like, well, if you haven't washed it, you can send it back. But at that point, I had already washed it, so I couldn't send it back. But that's a whole other story. So I decided that in order to have the stretch that I needed, I would cut things instead of along the grain, I would cut it on the cross grain. So I think that maybe that's why the pants were so long. They were so long that I ended up having to cut the cuff in half, the ankle cuff. Otherwise, it was just unwearable. So now I have thinner ankle bands, ankle cuffs, which is fine. The fabric itself feels great, but I mean, I was upset that it had been mislabeled on the website and for it being so expensive. But other than that, I love the pants. I really love the color. It's soft, you know, dusty pink. It's so cute, and I mean, you can tell they're sweatpants, but they're not like gray sweatpants. For my husband, I bought the same fabric, but in a heathered gray sweatshirt fleece. And for him, I had the same problem. I had to cut it on the cross grain. Now, my fabric for my sweatpants was solid. His was heathered. So maybe other people can't see it, but when I look at his pants, I see that the heathering is going the wrong way, and it drives me bananas. Bonkers, bonkers, bonkers. But he seems fine with it. He's been wearing them all the time since I made them. So all is well that ends well. But I was pretty upset. And this is probably the shortest project video that I have ever made because I only have 3 things. I have been sewing this month. Well, like this week. So hopefully I'll have a few more things to show you for March next month. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!